Most people drift through life without realizing how much power they give away. Every time you blame someone else, you hand them the keys to your own destiny. You say, "It's because of my boss. It's because of the government. It's because of my parents. It's because of luck." And with those words, you quietly surrender control. You've declared that your future is not in your hands, that you are a passenger rather than the driver. That is the quickest way to live a powerless life. Ownership is power. It is not about fault. It is about responsibility. There's a subtle but profound difference. Fault is about the past. Responsibility is about the future. Fault says, "Who caused this?" Responsibility asks, "What can I do about it now?" The person who takes ownership refuses to let circumstances, no matter how unfair, dictate the course of their life. Instead, they lean forward, grab the steering wheel, and decide to make their next move. Imagine two people lose their jobs in the same week. One blames the company, the economy, the timing, and maybe even the universe. The other asks, "What could I have done differently? Did I fail to make myself indispensable? Did I fail to learn the skills that would have made me valuable? Did I ignore the signs that change was coming?" The first person waits for the world to fix itself. The second person begins upgrading their skills, reaching out to new opportunities, reinventing themselves. Which of the two has power? Which of the two will turn a setback into growth? When you blame yourself, you stop waiting for rescue. You stop waiting for the world to be fair. You stop expecting someone else to hand you a better deal. You realize that nobody is coming to save you. And paradoxically, that is the most liberating realization. Because if nobody is coming to save you, then you are forced to save yourself. And once you start doing that, you begin to discover how much strength you truly have. Ownership also transforms how you learn. Every failure becomes a lesson when you ask, "What part of this was in my control?" Maybe not all of it was, but there's always something. Even in the worst luck, you can ask, "What signals did I miss? How can I be more prepared next time? What blind spots do I need to fix?" Blaming others leaves you with no feedback loop. You remain stuck. Blaming yourself, on the other hand, forces growth, and over time those lessons compound into wisdom. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about reclaiming agency. Think of it like a game. You don't control the cards you're dealt, but you control how you play them. Some people throw down their cards and complain the deck was rigged. Others play with absolute focus, squeezing every bit of advantage out of what they have. In the long run, the player who takes ownership wins far more often than the one who spends energy blaming the dealer. Ownership is also about mindset. You could look at the world as something that happens to you, or you could look at it as something that happens for you. The first view creates victims, the second view creates builders. Even pain, setbacks, and loss can be seen as raw material, something you can shape into growth, strength, and resilience. But you only get that benefit if you take responsibility for how you respond. Otherwise, pain is just pain. If you want to see the difference in real life, look at entrepreneurs. The most successful ones are not necessarily the smartest or the luckiest. They are the ones who take absolute responsibility. When the market shifts, they don't complain. They adapt. When a competitor beats them, they don't curse. They study and learn. When their company fails, they don't waste years pointing fingers. They move on, building the next thing. This is why ownership equals power, because ownership keeps you in motion. In contrast, the person who avoids responsibility stays stuck. If everything is someone else's fault, then nothing can ever change until the world changes, and the world rarely changes in your favor. But when you say, "This is on me," suddenly everything becomes changeable. Your habits, your decisions, your skills, your actions, those are always within your control, and they are enough to change the trajectory of your life. It is easy to fall into the trap of blaming. It feels good in the moment. It absolves you of guilt. It soothes your ego. It makes you feel like you've been wronged. But long term, it is poison, because while it comforts you, it also chains you. It makes you believe that you're powerless, and the more powerless you believe you are, the truer it becomes. The opposite, radical ownership, feels harder at first. It forces you to look in the mirror. It demands humility. It requires admitting, yes, I could have done more, I could have chosen differently. But over time, that honesty pays dividends. It gives you clarity, it gives you growth, and most importantly, it gives you freedom. So whenever life hits you, resist the urge to blame outward. Turn inward instead. Ask, what's my role in this? What can I learn? What can I change? That question may sting in the moment, but it preserves the most valuable thing you have, your agency. And agency is power. The person who takes ownership, even in the face of unfairness, is the one who quietly shapes their life into something extraordinary. One of the greatest illusions people carry is the belief that the world owes them something. We grow up thinking that because we worked hard, because we suffered, because we played by the rules, the universe must eventually reward us. But the truth is harsher and simpler. The world doesn't owe you anything. Life doesn't hand out guarantees. Effort doesn't automatically translate into reward. Fairness is not built into the fabric of reality. This is difficult for people to accept because it strikes at the ego. The ego wants to believe that we are special, that destiny has reserved a certain outcome for us. We think, if I just do the right things, if I put in my time, then good things must happen. But reality is indifferent. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. Markets don't care about your effort, they care about results. Nature doesn't care about your dreams, it follows its own laws. The moment you let go of the idea that the world owes you, you free yourself from endless resentment. Resentment is what grows when expectation collides with reality. If you expect the world to be fair and it isn't, you suffer twice, once from the pain itself and again from the belief that it shouldn't have happened. But if you drop the expectation, then life's difficulties become simply what they are, challenges to deal with, not personal betrayals. Think about the times you felt wronged. Maybe you worked hard at a job and someone else got promoted. Maybe you were loyal in a relationship and still got hurt. Maybe you played by the rules and watched someone cheat their way ahead. In those moments, the thought creeps in, this isn't fair, life owes me better. But that thought is a trap. It ties your happiness to a reality that doesn't exist. Fairness isn't guaranteed. Fairness is something humans create in small agreements, not something the universe enforces. When you truly understand that the world owes you nothing, something powerful happens. You stop waiting. Waiting is the default mode of entitlement. Waiting for luck, waiting for recognition, waiting for someone to hand you the life you think you deserve. But if you accept that nothing is owed, then you realize that everything you want must be built, earned, or attracted through your own effort and choices. You stop waiting and you start moving. This mindset shift changes how you see effort. Many people treat effort like a transaction. If I put in this work, I must get this reward. That's why they burn out. That's why they become bitter when things don't pay off exactly as expected. But when you drop entitlement, effort itself becomes its own reward. You work not because the universe owes you a result, but because working sharpens you, teaches you, builds your character, and increases your odds. You focus on playing the game well, not on demanding a guaranteed prize. This also builds resilience. If you expect the world to be fair, then every setback feels like an injustice. But if you expect nothing, setbacks become neutral information. They're just feedback. You don't waste energy asking, why me? You ask, what now? That difference is the line between bitterness and growth. The person who thinks life owes them is easily broken by reality. The person who expects nothing can't be broken. They can only be challenged. Ironically, when you stop believing that you're owed, you often achieve more. That's because entitlement leads to passivity, while responsibility leads to action. If you think you're owed, you wait. If you know you're owed nothing, you hustle, you experiment, you adapt. Life doesn't reward the entitled. It rewards the persistent. It rewards the ones who stay in motion despite setbacks, because motion is what keeps exposing you to opportunities. There's also freedom in this perspective. Imagine carrying around a constant ledger in your head. I've worked this hard, I've suffered this much, I deserve this outcome. That ledger is a prison. Every time reality doesn't match your imagined balance sheet, you feel cheated. But when you accept that no balance sheet exists, you are free. You don't need reality to match your calculations. You simply deal with it as it is, moment by moment. This is not to say the world is hopeless or cruel. It's simply neutral. The universe is a blank canvas. You are free to paint on it, but the canvas does not guarantee you a masterpiece. That's your responsibility. This is why entitlement is dangerous. It blinds you to the raw material in front of you. You're so busy demanding marble statues that you don't pick up the clay at your feet and start molding. The world doesn't owe you love, money, recognition, or happiness. Those are things you must create, attract, and nurture through your actions. The sooner you let go of the illusion of being owed, the sooner you can focus on what's actually within your control, and that focus on your own agency, your own choices, your own responses, is what creates a meaningful life. So stop waiting for life to deliver what you think you deserve. It won't. Instead, start building, learning, moving, trying, failing, and trying again. Reality doesn't hand out guarantees, but it does reward those who engage with it fully. The world owes you nothing, but that's not a curse. That's the greatest gift, because if nothing is owed, then everything you create is truly yours. Freedom is not about money or status or even time. Real freedom is agency. Agency is the recognition that you are the one steering your life, that you always have a choice. Most people think freedom is about external conditions, enough wealth to retire, no boss, no obligations. But you can have all of those and still feel trapped if you believe you're powerless. And you can be in difficult circumstances and still feel free if you recognize that your actions, your mindset, and your choices are always yours. Agency means you see yourself as the cause, not the effect. It's the understanding that while you don't control the world, you control how you engage with it. Life will always throw chaos, randomness, and unfairness at you. But with agency, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What do I do next?" That subtle shift in perspective is the foundation of freedom. The tragedy is that most people give away their agency without even realizing it. They hand it over to governments, companies, relationships, or even to luck. They live as if they are passengers, carried along by forces they can't influence, and in doing so, they surrender the one thing that can never truly be taken from them, their ability to choose their response. The moment you forget you have agency, you become a prisoner, even if the prison walls are invisible. Think of someone who blames traffic for being late. That person has already given away their power. The traffic is outside their control, but their planning, their preparation, their decision to leave earlier or adapt, that is theirs. Someone else misses the same meeting but says, "I didn't plan properly, next time I'll adjust." One has lost agency, the other has preserved it. Only one of them is free. Agency doesn't mean control over everything. It doesn't mean you can bend reality to your will. What it means is that within every situation, there is always something that belongs to you, your attitude, your decision, your effort, your focus. Viktor Frankl, who survived concentration camps, wrote that the last of human freedoms is the ability to choose one's attitude in any circumstance. That is agency in its purest form, and it is the essence of freedom. Without agency, people become reactive. They wait for someone else to fix their problems. They wait for perfect conditions before taking action. They wait for permission, recognition, or luck. But waiting is another form of captivity. Freedom is action. It is moving forward despite uncertainty, deciding even when the outcome is unclear, adapting when things don't go as planned. Agency is the antidote to paralysis. This is why blaming others is so dangerous. Blame might feel good in the short term. It absolves you of responsibility, but it robs you of agency. If everything is someone else's fault, then only they can fix it. You have no role left to play, and that is the essence of slavery, to believe that your fate is always in someone else's hands. Agency restores that power to you. It says, no matter what happened, I still have the next move. Agency is also the foundation of creativity. When you accept that nobody is coming to save you, you stop waiting and start building. You invent solutions. You design your own path. You may not be able to control the rules of the game, but you can learn them, adapt to them, and sometimes even bend them. Every entrepreneur, every artist, every innovator is simply someone who exercised their agency instead of surrendering it. And agency compounds. Every time you take responsibility, every time you choose action over blame, you strengthen your belief in yourself. You prove repeatedly that you are not helpless. Over time, that belief becomes unshakable confidence. And confidence is freedom too, the freedom to take risks, to explore, to live without constant fear of failure. Because with agency, even failure is not final. It's simply another move in the game. The opposite is also true. Every time you tell yourself, it's not my fault, there's nothing I can do, you erode your agency, you shrink, you reinforce the belief that you are powerless. Eventually, that belief becomes your reality. You start living in a prison of your own making, not because you lack options, but because you no longer believe you have any. The truth is, agency is freedom because it cannot be taken from you without your consent. External freedoms can be limited, your time, your money, your mobility, but as long as you recognize your own agency, you remain free. You always have the next move. You always have the power to respond. That is why the most resilient people, the ones who endure and grow despite hardship, are not the ones who had perfect conditions. They are the ones who never surrendered their agency. So if you want freedom, don't wait for perfect circumstances. Don't wait for someone to give it to you. Recognize the agency you already have and exercise it fully. Choose ownership, choose action, choose responsibility. Even in the most uncertain or unfair conditions, the person who remembers their agency is already freer than the person with comfort, wealth, and status, but no sense of control. In the end, freedom isn't out there, it's in here. It's not about what the world allows you, it's about what you allow yourself. Agency is freedom, and the moment you claim it, you realize you've been free all along.